Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Adriana Francois, and I welcome you guys to our Diabetes Awareness Panel 2. We actually had a panel last week with one of our other commentators. I am a program manager at Aurora and Proviso, and my job is to find youth work or find them internship or apprenticeship or just anything that they want to do. We are very excited to have our panelists today, Mrs. Jackie Clark and Mrs. Cantrell Connell. We are talking about diabetes awareness, just being healthy. Any questions, you guys, we'll be posting this in our YouTube channel and on TikTok, on Instagram also. So we want to make sure that everybody can ask questions. We might have questions later. So welcome, thank you so much. And I'll turn it to our host, which is Gabriel, and he's one of our youth workers.
Hello, my name is Gabriel. I'm a Light Leaders Youth podcast host, and we're very excited to introduce two of our continuing interviews, which will be continuing the conversation that we had with Iris Patterson last week. So if you haven't watched that yet, go check it out on our YouTube page, which will have the full interview there. So I would like to introduce Jackie and Cantrell. If you would both take a couple minutes to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do. Jackie, if you want to go.
Sure, yeah. Jackie Clark. I am CEO of Chicagoland Fat Loss Camps. We've helped 45 people lose 100 pounds. And my background, though, is in engineering. So I'm a chemical engineer by background and really have spent the last 20 years helping companies with their product and bringing them to market. And then I took a lot of my skills in terms of helping people in processes and establishing discipline systems and applied it to my business in the fat loss industry. So I'm really big on following systems and processing and rules so to help people meet their goals. So that's what I do day in and day out, and I enjoy it. So that's it.
Thank you. And Cantrell, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, I am, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm Cantrell Connell. I'm currently in a doctorate's program in Chinese medicine. I am a life coach, sound healer, an herbalist. I've also done a lot of work with helping people within the industry of detoxing, understanding that your health is your wealth, mind, body, and spirit. And I do a lot of training. I'm also a Reiki master teacher. So I do a lot of facilitating many people, large groups, individuals, to just really get them on track of their mental health as well as their physical health.
Well, that's really great to hear about both your different backgrounds. First, what was it like growing up for you? Jackie, if you would answer first, and then we'll have.
Sure, yeah. So I grew up in Florida, in warm, sunny Florida, and was athletic my entire life and never had a weight problem until I moved to Chicago and had cold weather, to be honest. As far as eating and nutrition, my mother pretty much cooked every day. My mother's side of the family is from the Bahamas, so we have more of a sauce, unfried food. But then my father's side of the family is from Georgia, so the fried chicken, cornbread, collard greens, sweet potato pie, that kind of stuff. So it's the mergence of two cultures, and I would honestly say that, you know, for the most part, I had really good eating habits in terms of nutrition, but I went into the food industry really because I started to see a trend in my family where we were gaining weight, we had diabetes, high blood pressure, and then kidney problems as a result. So I was really passionate about learning more about nutrition by working in the actual food industry. And then obviously, you know, then I became a business owner in the fat loss industry. But growing up, it was interesting. I had a mix of two different types of food. So.
Yeah, that seems like always fun when you get a taste a little bit of both cultures, and it's really interesting to see how different some of the foods are depending on where you go in the world and in the US too.
And this is probably not politically correct, but I am probably the only Black person. I do not know how to fry chicken. I don't. Because by the time I wanted to learn how to fry chicken, my dad had high blood pressure. And so he started baking his chicken. So after years of growing up with the Georgia Southern eating, he started switching to healthy. And that was the time I was supposed to learn how to fry chicken, but I never did. I never learned how to fry chicken. So that's a fun fact. I do not know how to fry chicken.
Well, I know who to go to for the baked chicken then.
Right, for baked chicken. Yeah.
Baked chicken. Cantrell, if you would like to introduce yourself and just share a little bit about what it was like growing up for you.
Okay. So my answer for how was things growing up, I have 6 sisters, 3 brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've got a lot of siblings. Both my parents, they worked. My mom, she was in healthcare. She's a nurse. My father, you know, he drove a bus. They sent all of us to Catholic school. And sometimes there was a lot of things as far as diet and things are concerned. Catholics, you eat a certain way on Fridays, and there was fasting and things like that for religious reasons. But as far as my home life, my parents, they always cooked home cooked meals. I was accustomed to going to the farm to get food, learning how to preserve things as a child. We cooked together as a family. We ate together. I can remember growing up, as far as food is concerned, we didn't eat a lot of those sugary cereals and things like that. Those were treats if we got those. We ate like cream of wheat and Cheerios and things like that. We didn't do a lot of the those other things. I think that my mom and dad, they were always very responsible for us as far as health was concerned. And it could have been because growing up where your families have all kind of health conditions, diabetes does run in our family. And I think that me and my siblings, as far as everyone else, cousins and aunts and uncles are concerned, we're the ones that we don't have diabetes. We have heart conditions that run in the family. So I think that I came from a background where eating healthy, having vegetables with your meals, also things on the other side of it, being healthy in mind, body, and spirit, things like communicating with each other, not going to bed frustrated and angry. Those things were things that they were instilled in us, and it was a part of, we may not have looked at it as far as health is concerned, but it really was, because these are things that right now are on repeat in my and life. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. And as a
Okay.
follow-up to that, what was your personal relationship with food growing up? Was it do you think too much about like your personal nutrition, like if you were eating healthy, or was that something you considered while growing up? And Cantrell, if you want to answer this, and then Jackie.
You asked, did I think about us eating healthy then?
Yeah.
You know what? I actually didn't think about it in that way at all. I thought all people you know, on certain times you go to the farm and you got your food and you know, clean vegetables and cut them up and blanch them and preserve things and can. I thought that was something that was normal. I did not think about how great of an asset that was until I got grown, and things like having a farm, I mean, a garden in my own backyard. It wasn't until COVID I noticed a lot of people started doing a lot more gardening, like more younger people. I didn't realize how that was such an asset to my everyday life. Even now, I just was able to still go back to my garden. It's snow outside, but there are things like the greens and the leafy vegetables. They're hardy. They're still growing, and it's not about, you know, surviving. That eating that way was about how to sustain, and it's still with me currently. I never even thought about it actually as being healthy. I just thought it was normal. And I didn't realize also that other people didn't eat that way until I would look at people's plates. Like if I went to friends' houses and I ate, and I'm like, where's your vegetable at? You don't have any on your plate? That would never fly in my home. And so even now to this day, when I'm making dinner, it doesn't seem right when I don't have a vegetable. You know, even if I'm making veggie burgers and fries, where's the vegetable?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be balanced. I remember when I was growing up, we had this website called My Plate. I don't know if they still do that, but they would
do.
yeah, they'd have the My Plate thing. So you see the plate, they have your, you know, your vegetables, your proteins, all that. And so yeah, that's what I grew up with. It's kind of fun seeing how, like, I mean, you know, for some of us, it was growing up, it was really where you just ate healthy, and that was really realistically that. I mean, the one day I will say this, the one day that we never eat healthy is always Thanksgiving and Halloween. Those are the 2 days that you gotta watch out for.
Interesting. Well, so I would say similar to Cantrell, again, I'm speaking because it's grew up more of my mother's side of the family. Definitely we ate more of the Caribbean style food, which is more, again, sauces, vegetables, lots of onions and peppers and just more of that. But I think the mistake that I made is another cultural thing was, you know, was overeating, because again, you know, there are always starving children in Africa that didn't have food. And so if you put, you know, you had food on your plate, like it was pressure to eat it all, right? And then because I was very athletic, I was used to eating a lot of food. And so when now you're not athletic anymore and you still have the eating habits of a person that worked out or ran track or whatever, practice for 2 hours a day, and now you sit all day. Now the overeating with inactivity was a recipe for, you know, disaster. And again, you all don't have my before picture or anything, but and for me, and maybe some people this is a good way, but for me personally, I was up to about 230. And again, having the family history of diabetes, it just became a really bad recipe. But again, growing up, ate healthy, but we ate too much because of the pressure to not waste food. And I don't know if there's maybe other cultures like that, but there was pressure to eat all the food on your plate or you're ungrateful, right? I think that played a lot into overeating, not blaming anybody to shove food down my throat, but I think psychologically that was embedded. What else would I say? I mean, I learned how to cook early, so that's one good thing. My mom did teach me how to cook, but I think I just ate too much later in life. So yeah, interesting. And I really Cantrell, I really like the way you talk about the whole mental health thing, because I think that sometimes people do eat for emotional reasons, right? And it's pretty interesting to think through that, not just taking care of yourself from a physical standpoint, but emotional as well. So
Yeah, and I see a lot of that in a lot of the patients I see as an acupuncturist, and even in my work as a life coach, working with people with detoxing and cleanses. And most of the time, those people that I work with, their eating disorders and overeating is usually not even food related. It's mostly all mental anyway.
Mhm.
Sometimes they associate food with love because that's what they did. They gathered, and that's where they shared love. And so that's, you have some people, they eat and they're thinking that food is related to passion and enjoyment. So they overindulge, there's a lot of that connection. So I totally connected to that.
So how has eating healthy or just eating in general impacted your mental health? Have you felt like certain foods will positively impact you? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, so one thing that a lot of people are not aware of is that when you eat certain foods and you don't cleanse, we're prone to have parasites growing on the inside of us. And so parasites, an excessive amount of them are linked, and this is scientific stuff, they are linked to people having anxiety and sometimes having higher stress levels, because of the things that they're eating. And so there's the connection with understanding eating live food, such as fruits and vegetables. It has life in it. It's live. The vibration actually elevates you mentally. You're not as stressed. Think about it. When you are stressed, usually you're eating heavy food that's not really that's not good for you. It may make you feel comforted, but your physical body feels heavy and weighed down, and you're tired. And when you're on the up and up of you're feeling really good, you're wanting to eat food from a higher vibration, energetically speaking. So there's definitely the connection. A lot of times people who are having certain breakdowns and mental health issues, not only are they not getting the proper vitamins and things that they need within their diet, it's usually they don't have enough vitamin D, vitamin B, and vitamin C, and some magnesium. Those are the suspects in the thing. And you get some of those things from the sun, yes, supplements, but also your food. So if you're not eating a proper diet, then yes, your mind is going to be all over the place. It's one of the ways that we can gain some clarity, actually, by just taking some time and like retreating from eating certain things that may make us feel comforted, but doesn't necessarily make us feel good.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So I think for me, I have several examples of where I know, for me personally, eating impacted. So number one, when I eat what I'm going to call clean. So we have a meal we have followed it on instructions. So we eat like lean meat, vegetables, without giving out the exact diet. But it's very clean, like, one ingredient type food, instead of buying broccoli with sauces and all that other stuff in the bag with 20 ingredients, you just eat the broccoli, right? And when I eat that type of way, I don't eat any dairy. So the first meal plan in our program has no dairy and no wheat. And literally there's a lot less inflammation. So my body is not physically puffy, and I feel better. We joke around, and another thing that happened to me is I went through early menopause at 43, and I don't have any, when I eat clean, I don't have any menopause, no hot flashes, that kind of stuff. But once I eat like sugary foods or alcohol, I get hot flashes. It's insane. I sweat like the pool of water in the bed. So those are two direct things, I think. And then the third thing I say to my clients, we joke around. So like on Mondays, we work out. And like I can literally tell on Mondays they are super sluggish because they've been good all week. And then the weekend they have like whatever they have. And then like Monday, I'm sitting there like, what the heck is going on? Everyone's moving slow. And they're again, be honest, they're gassy because they're intaking the dairy and it's not really working well anymore on Monday morning, right? And so it's just interesting to see they look like total train they like total train wrecks on Monday morning. Dr. Crystal knows. So I think I see a direct correlation between like the food that you eat, and then also there are scientific studies, and I know Miss Cantrell, there's a link between sugary cereals and ADD. So the children that eat this very sugary foods, like literally even Cheerios. I worked in a cereal plant in West Chicago. The first ingredient is sugar.
Yeah.
It may be the second ingredient now. This was in 1999. Maybe somebody you all were not born at the time, but but in 1999. So the first ingredient is sugar, even the healthier cereals, but it's still processed. And the biggest example I have to say about this in terms of quality, I use this example with my gym. Again, just you kind of just maybe show your hands. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So by show of hands, right? So can anyone eat like a full big bag of Doritos, like the big tall bag of Doritos? Like I love Doritos. Has anyone ever eat like a big bag of chips? Okay. Think about, or what about Oreos, like the sleeves of Oreos? Like, you have a long strip. Like I literally could eat the entire bag of Doritos, or I can eat all 3 sleeves of Oreos in one setting, and you never get full. It's because what Cantrell said is like the food is dead and it's just sugary. It has no nutrition in it. So that's why you can eat a big bag of Doritos, or you can eat 2 sleeves of Oreos and you're never full. Right? Just think about it. You could just eat the sleeve and and you still want more. One, the sugar, you're addicted to sugar and you want to eat more, but you don't get satiated, as we call the scientific word. You don't feel satiated because there's no nutrition in it. It's totally dead food, no fiber, no vitamins, no mineral. It's just solid sugar. Right?
Yeah.
Am I telling the truth?
Oh yeah. And again, that's something where when people are like, oh, I ate like all this, I'm like, well, you're not gonna feel full because again, it all goes back to that, to what you're eating. Like if you're eating whole grains and you're eating, you're eating like those fruits, vegetables, though, and you'll feel full for longer because for a lot of those things, it takes longer to digest. So
exactly.
It's one of those things where you gotta watch what you're eating and make sure that you're eating you're eating what you need to, and you don't like take those off days, because then you come in on Monday and you're like, oh, there's my
it's amazing. And again, myself too, like if I eat, if I kind of have to call it, I don't like to say, bad food, right? If I have fun, right? If I have fun over the weekend, I come on Mondays, I'm dragging too, right? So it's not just my customers, I'm guilty as well. But I think, and I don't agree with like never having food that's, fun or whatever. I just say like, 80-20, 90-10, you gotta have some fun out of life. You can't just always eat, chicken and broccoli, right? That gets boring. But it just has to be, especially if the topic is diabetes, like there's definitely a balance, right? So.
Yeah, there always is. So it's finding that right balance.
Just checking in. Ari, do you have a question or a comment? You're welcome to talk.
So my mom made healthy dinner. Healthy is nutritious and strong, healthy England. And he'd say the app is healthy and good, and oils and candies not healthy.
Right. Right. Yep.
What are the few teenagers?
Except Halloween.
Yeah, that's the one exception.
Yeah, one day.
The one day I will let myself eat a little bit more candy than I normally do.
Right.
No, not healthy. Mm-mm.
I know.
Ari says no. Ari says no.
No.
Yeah, that's it's the one day of the year though. There's 364 other days where you eat healthy. So
That's good.
So how did you each get into your careers? What was the point where you chose to you're like, I want to go into nutrition? Jackie and then Cantrell.
Yeah, so for me, you know, I'm gonna try to see if I can pull up my picture. But for me, I wouldn't say life or death, but you know how like when people are dealing with high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that, sometimes people have a stroke or a heart attack and they're just gone. I was on a flight to Paris working for L'Oreal. Like like that was like a dream assignment for me to go work at L'Oreal Paris. Oh my God, like I was so like my head was so big, right? But I was on that plane and I passed out in flight. And it was scary as I don't know what. I was just like, as I was passing out, I was like, God, please don't let me die. I promise I'm gonna change. And I was saying this in my head. And I heard them like open up, I heard them hear, like I heard the sounds like open up her shirt, get her some oxygen. But I don't know if you guys can see this picture.
Yeah.
That was my before picture. And you know, for me, having seen, you know, going from again, eating fairly healthy to seeing my grandmother pass at 70, after years of being overweight. My dad died at 64. Another aunt died at 60, another aunt died at 55, and I actually recently lost another aunt she was 65. And after you just see so many people pass away from the same thing, it's like it's insanity, right? How can I keep watching? And then my grandmother on my father's side was on dialysis for like 20 years. So she lived a long time because they caught her kidney disease. But I just had to say to myself, like, when does the madness stop? And after experiencing that situation, I decided to start the fat loss camp because one, I needed to stop the cycle of obesity related illness and early death in my family, starting with me. And then I said, well, if this helped me, I know that it can help other people too, because I look at the community and based on the data, 67% of the population is overweight and 33% is obese. And then within that, you know, you have high blood pressure, you have all those obesity related illnesses. Because people aren't necessarily dying from diabetes, they're dying because they were overweight and obese and it turned into insulin resistance and overload of sugar in their blood, right? So I said, well, let me start a business to address the percent of the population that wants to or needs to lose weight. Either they need to lose it for health reasons or they want to lose it to look better. What we learned over the last 5 years is the people that lose it for health reasons, they tend to keep it off longer than the people that just do it to look good. Because looking good, while we all want to look good, when you have to come face to face with that mirror and think about like, do I want to die early like grandma, dad, all these other people for something I can control, like putting food in my mouth? For me personally, I said, well, God gave me a second chance by allowing me to live through that flight. I was obligated to make a change. So one, for myself, and then two, for others. So as a business, the businesses that grow more actually help and serve more people. And so that's what I wanted to do, is help other people. So I'm pretty excited about that. And that's really kind of how I started on the journey, and I love it. I'm passionate about it and I love it. So
Thank you.
we want to have 100 people that lose 100 pounds
Yeah.
pretty soon.
I mean, that's amazing. And it's, I know all the best businesses start out with, with the goal of helping other people, and especially, working off of, their lived experiences. I know a lot of founders, they, through what they've experienced, they want to, help others. So that's amazing that you're doing that, in your business. And really amazing. You said it was 47 people have lost over 100 pounds. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think 45 have lost over 100. And it's thousands that have lost, 20, 30, 40, 50. I know, like Dr. Crystal, you lost how much? Like 50 something pounds?
Yeah, 50 pounds the first time. And so let me back up, because Miss Jackie said something that's super important. Like when you relate weight loss or getting healthy, weight loss tied to being healthy versus looking good. I lost 50 pounds in preparation for my wedding, and then went through that emotional eating stage, gained 50 pounds, I should say 45 pounds back. So I had to come back to the camp, get my life together, and then do it over. But now I didn't have it tied to a goal other than like really trying to make sure that I'm healthy, outside of like trying to look good for an event or something like that. So with me being healthy, I've been able to keep off the 50 pounds. So doing good so far.
That's great. Ari, did you have a question?
Yes. So school, I get to have my teacher with cooking every day, have healthy food, carrots, and caramel watermelon, healthy, has your bones strong and your brain too.
Oh,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Very true. And I think that's something that Jackie brought up, is the part about being an athlete, and not be eating still. And I think that that's something that our athletes, or people who are used to be in high school, very athletic, or, even middle school, you could maybe it's something that is tied, right? Like, oh, you're very athletic when you're in middle school, and then you get to high school, you're not part of that. You start seeing that trend. And it's so important to notice that about yourself and say, okay, well, I shouldn't eat, 2 plates of pasta because I'm not running in cross country anymore. I don't need to carb up to run a sprint, right? You just need to calm down and be like, vegetables. I learned that too. I had to lose weight myself for the same thing. Diabetes hit me, and my doctor's like, you've never been 175 pounds. And I was like, no, I've never been 175 pounds. And he's like, well, let's talk about losing some weight first.
Right,
So
right.
I did exercise controlled diabetes.
Right.
About
Yeah.
50.
And I think that's interesting because, and again, I know, Cantrell, you're more of an herbalist and, you study Chinese medicine. It's interesting how the threshold that triggers diabetes is different. Like at 175, I don't have any diabetes, but for you, you have it, right? And so it's interesting that that weight threshold is different based on maybe the family history or whatever. But it's amazing. Like I said, like 230 for a person that's 400 pounds, they're fine. They're sexy, right? But for me, that 230 was high blood pressure, diabetes, damaging my kidneys. So it's just interesting. And I try to focus on, and then I'm gonna let Cantrell go, but I try to focus on not so much a weight goal, but it's like, what is your size sexy? Or what is the size where you're healthy? Because that ultimately what matters. 199 may be healthy to somebody else. And so I think it's so important, especially I know women put a lot of pressure on themselves to lose weight, but we have to think about not just I look good, but what are my health measurements looking at this weight versus that weight, and what is that optimal weight for my health, and I think that's what's really and do you feel better? Do you have more energy? does your back not hurt? Like those sort of things. Like we call it non-scale victories. Like what else is improving and getting better besides just the weight loss? Most importantly, obviously being, the obesity related diabetes type illnesses. So.
Ari has a question.
My mom buy me is this thing called help me here.
Oh, hydroxycut. Ooh.
Because we get after eating,
Uh-huh.
we eat a lot food.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have if you're not having a reaction to it,
Mhm.
but I know that we don't recommend that one with my program, but we have something that breaks down fat, but it doesn't have like caffeine in it and things like that. Again, we do have some options. So I don't know what's in hydroxycut, but if it's working okay for you, I say keep doing it, right? So, but everyone has to look at the supplements
Yeah.
on their own and evaluate it, how it works in your body. So I
Yeah,
wouldn't
and-
say yes, healthy or not, but just it's how it works for you.
And I get I did exercise, and I did my mom told me try the bike,
Okay.
and
So you're riding a bike?
and ride treadmill,
Okay.
and I did palms my old school. I
Mhm.
cheering a boys basketball.
Okay. So you did basketball and cheering. That's
Mhm.
good. So you have to stay active while you're young.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good, Ari.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's very important to have an active lifestyle and be eating healthy as well. There's nothing worse than going for a jog and you're and then you end up trying to having a too heavy of a meal. It's always bad.
Yes.
So for you, Jackie, what education was required for you to get into your career?
Yeah. So wow. I'm a chemical engineer by background. I think that for me, it's just really just understanding. You don't have to be a chemical engineer, obviously, but just having a passion to understand food. So most people that get into at least being a nutritionist, they study nutrition and dietetics. So they study that part of it. Also, maybe looking at being a nurse or people that focus on like the physical sciences, but it's really understanding food, the vitamins, the nutrition that's in the food, and really how it works and functions in the body. And I know that Cantrell probably has more of that knowledge because she was breaking down the vitamin D and the magnesium, which is in the food, right? So just having an understanding of what's in the food and how it helps the human body. So, either through herbs or food, I think that is, if you want to focus on more diabetes, because it's two approaches, right? You can work out like, Miss Francois, she was able to work out and get the extra insulin out of her bloodstream, like burn it out through that physical metabolic process. Or some people just by changing what they put into their body helps. So, and it may be a combination of both. So it's just really understanding how it all works. So maybe somebody that has a physics degree, because it's still, your body is just it's a machine, and it works and function, and just understanding how your body works and functions, that's really key. So, I mean, Cantrell, what would you say? And what's your background in terms of being a herbalist?
Cantrell is
mute.
saying to give her a moment. She had to step away for a sec.
Yeah, but I have, so I worked at Kraft Foods. So I have friends, again, that are dietitians. I have friends that studied like human nutrition. What are I'm trying to think of some of the degrees I've seen. Food science. So there's food science, then there's food engineering. And I always like to help people understand the difference. So food science, so let's say chemistry or food science. Chemistry is what is in the product or what's in the food. How do you make it from an ingredient standpoint? But engineering is taking it from the small scale, like what's in the pot, to make it in a big, huge tank, right? So right now I'm at a company called T Marzetti here in Columbus, Ohio. And they make the little dip cups for Chick-fil-A. And so somebody probably came up with that, a food scientist probably came up with that recipe in a little pot, right? Ooh, this Polynesian sauce tastes good, all right? But then engineers take it and they take it from making it in a small pot to like a 10,000 gallon tank. But if you think about, if you make spaghetti at home, if you make a small pot of spaghetti for 2 people versus a pot of spaghetti for, Cantrell has brothers, like 9 brothers and sisters, the way you cook it and what you cook it in looks totally different. And engineering is the ability to go from a small scale to a large scale and then sell it on a consumer market, right? So I think that is kind of the differences. And sometimes people don't understand. Chemistry and science is more controlled environments, whereas engineering takes it something from like 1 to many and being able to produce it on a larger scale. So that's, if you all didn't know, I like to try to make sure people understand the differences between the science aspect versus engineering. Plus engineers get paid more. Sorry.
Yeah, I know for some people the pay is quite important, and but it's also great to know which the differences between both of those careers. So for both of you, what are some obstacles you faced in entering the industry you've gone into? Cantrell and then Jackie.
Okay. So one, if I may just make sure that I answer the question about, what got us into our field. I actually, and I'll keep it very brief, but detailed, right? I actually started in health and wellness as a nail tech. So when I was in the 6th grade, I did my family and friends' nails for years, and I went through I went through grade school. I finished high school, and I also wanted to be an artist. Nails were like a small canvas for me. And once I got to finish high school, instead of going to art school, I went to nail school. Once I finished nail school and I was doing nails for many years of my life, I recognized that there was something about the touch. When I touched someone, there was a transformation of something within them. And I knew that I needed to help people. So I took a break from doing nails for many years, and I went back to school, and I thought that psychology was the field that I was supposed to go into. I was already doing things like working with essential oils and crystals that are from the earth within my work. In my pedicure water, I was like, okay, this person needs to be relaxed. So I was studying and learning about herbs and things on my own. And I said, I need to help people. And at the time, I thought that psychology was the only thing to help people. And I figured out that those classes were not enough for what I was supposed to do, with whom I was supposed to help. And that's how I ended up getting into learning about acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I still had to, go through undergrad and all of those classes that I needed. I had to have psychology and those things in my acupuncture program. And so acupuncture is Chinese medicine where we're working with herbs and body work like Tuina. That's a Asian type of massage. It's like a medical massage. And we also do things like shiatsu. We do a lot of, if someone could come to me and they may think, oh, I'm waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom frequently. And there are certain questions I would ask them. And that person may have some issues going on within their kidney. And I would check their pulse and their tongue in order to create a diagnosis from them on the Chinese perspective. This work is very important to me because there are little ailments and things that people are going through that they may think that they're crazy because they feel this way. They're like, I had this headache, but it's moving here and here. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, Xiaoyashang syndrome. These are things that the average person may not know what's going on, and they need some support. Some of the challenges that I faced in my industry is about, it's hard sometimes when people see me as a Black woman and I come through the door and they're like, you're a Chinese medicine doctor in the making, right? Yeah, I am. And I know exactly what I'm talking about too. So there's a lot of having to prove myself. I've even had some of my professors, put some of the things that I know up to the light to ask, why do I know certain things? Or, I have also a background in African healing modalities as well, cultural and traditional things that have been around just as long as Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is a 5,000-year-old plus medical practice. So it has the African cultures and traditional things that I know. And sometimes people don't understand how they work together. And so my obstacle is also not only proving that I am adequate and I know what I'm talking about as a Black woman, but the fact that these other practices that I came from are related to who I am and the type of practitioner I am. Sometimes I may have patients that, because they've been beat up in Western medicine, not feeling heard or being made to feel crazy about something that's going on, they come to me for help, but they're not always as vulnerable and open because they're expecting me to respond to them in the same way that their Western practitioners have. And so there's the thing that we have, like the 10 questions. We ask you 10 questions basically to assess you. And they may tell me things like they've been dreaming a lot. They don't even know that I'm listening to what type of dreams they're having because I'm relating it to the organs. The obstacles are sometimes them not trusting, their doctor, me, when they come to see me because of what has happened. And sometimes withholding information, not being compliant because they're used to, they sometimes feel like they have to lie to their doctors. And this is a total different practice. I also want to say some other obstacles, and this is the last big one, is I had a patient who, she was in a car accident and she was going to her doctor for many years, not really getting better. She started coming to see me, and I'm working with basically what she's telling me her doctor's giving her to do within my scope of practice. And I told her, I said, your doctor may not like that you're coming to see an acupuncturist. She didn't see her doctor. She was going maybe twice a month. Her visits started getting shorter. Longer, spread out. And when she finally saw her doctor, he said, well, why haven't you been to see me? And she's like, well, I've been feeling great. And he was excited about her feeling great, right? Until he found out that she was getting acupuncture. And he turned it into this whole story about how, you know, now he's got to do all these tests. Her nerves might be damaged, all kind of stuff. So sometimes people will discredit the field, you know, or even appear that we're not important. Our work doesn't matter. That's one of the obstacles I've had experienced.
Wow. Yeah, that's just complete ignorance, unfortunately. Yeah, and so I see your last name is Francois, so I'm not sure if that's Haiti or not sure where.
I'm from Panama.
Panama. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm a Caribbean island person, and we definitely like doing COVID. We got COVID, and it's like you were going to the bush and making some tea, right? So I definitely Cantrell relate to you with the herbalist. So we took some tree called it's Madeira bark, and it grows in Florida. We took the bark of the tree, mixed it with some cover your ears, young people, some alcohol. And we were like drinking that every day, and not every day, but you know, just for medicinal purposes. And so definitely I'm a believer in, like, I almost have to be like balled over to go to the doctor. So like, I'm not a big person on going to the doctor. In fact, I had severe back injury, and the only thing that worked was acupuncture, and they use electric stimulation and cold presses because I had inflammation.
Oh, yes.
And so the traditional medicine doesn't necessarily always wake. Well, obviously I could take an ibuprofen, but guess what? I can't take it because I have kidney problems. So I can't take ibuprofen. So the only option I had to reduce the inflammation was to seek a more natural solution or more balanced approach, which was acupuncture. So I definitely appreciate the work you do. But in terms of the obstacles, I wouldn't say I have any obstacles from a business standpoint, except I struggle with how harsh to be with my customers. By nature, I'm a very direct, straightforward, to the point person. And I try to be a little bit nice because not everyone can handle the truth. So you kind of don't want to turn people off, but at the same time, it's kind of like this. I have a program, it's $347. So here's the thing, people will go out to dinner, they would travel, people can find all sorts of things to do with their money. But when it comes to investing in their health, they want to play cheap. Or if someone can't fit into their clothes because they're overweight, they'll go buy more clothes, or they'll buy shoes because they can't fit in clothes. So it's interesting. So they'll spend money on a new outfit to go to an event, you know, hundreds of dollars, but instead of investing in themselves. Or, you know, it's just a lot of things that I see, because I hate to count people's money, but I see people making the choice all day long. And it's kind of like, again, I'm likening it to gas. If you have a luxury car, you're not going to put regular gas in your tank, right? If you need a tune-up, if you need an oil change, you're going to get your car service. And so the biggest thing I try to say is, like, you have one body. You can get cars, you can have cars, you can have houses, you can buy a lot of these things, you know. And I know now we have organ transplants and stuff, but it's like you have one body. And what we do to our bodies, and I'm saying we do things to our bodies by putting food in it that's just not supporting a healthy body. And we invest in everything else. We get life insurance, we get car insurance, we get all kind of insurance for our jewelry, but we don't get insurance for our bodies, and we don't. So it's just interesting to me to see how people devalue the importance of taking care of themselves when I see so much wasted money. And so my biggest struggle is trying to help people understand that what's more important than investing in your health? Because like Cantrell said, like your health is your wealth. Because when you get a little cold, you feel miserable, right? Like you get a cold and like you just can't wait for the cold to be over because you feel miserable, or you have back pain. So it's just amazing to me how people make that choice. And I struggle as a person and as a business owner to try to influence people to make that choice. It's like you got to beg people to like lose weight, get healthy, and try to live longer. And it's insane to me. But that's my biggest struggle, is trying to help people quantify the value of getting healthy.
You,
And
you,
it's really priceless. But unfortunately, we make those choices all the time. So that's
yeah.
my biggest struggle.
I understand that. We have a thing in Chinese medicine that like we'll say we're trees, right? And Western medicine typically treats the branch of things. If you got a bad heart, yeah, like you said, you get a new one. You got a bad knee, get a new one, right?
Hopefully, if y'all can make the list, right?
If you can. But sometimes we are not available. Well, the patient is not available, or the person is not available for that. And so one of the things we say is that, like, my medicine is root medicine. In my clinic I'm at, I'm definitely the doctor in training. I'm coming in with all my little tools and my cute little bags. Okay. My cute little pink little bags with all my little customized stuff. Because I'm checking all the vitals. Even if you just come in there for your finger is broke, I'm going, well, what's happening systemically, right? I want to treat the root and the branch. But sometimes this is where the saying is, when the patient doesn't allow you to treat the root, treat the branch. And then eventually you'll get there. And that's something I had to learn and not be frustrated, because I too had experienced that. People would come to me for help, and then I would realize they didn't always come for help. They came for a Band-Aid. And I learned what helped me was to just let them know that they had the power and that they were in control of their healing, not me. I don't heal you ever. I don't help you ever. I'm here to support you. And that took the pressure off of me as well, when I could get frustrated about, why are you sitting here spending your time and money with me and you're not listening, you're not doing what's being said. And I had to recognize that healing isn't linear. And so it may take them a little bit of time for them to get it. And you just keep showing up. They keep showing up. And eventually they get something. But I also like to tell people, well, you can't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do.
Right, exactly.
And there's it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And I actually paid when I went to that. It wasn't covered by my insurance. It was $50 a visit, but I could not put I was not mobile because my back was hurting so bad, and I could not put a price, because I was actually mean and grumpy with my back pain. I was in tears, and so that $50 I had to spend was worth it, because I was able to eventually get better. You couldn't. So some things I try. Everyone's watching their budget, but just some things are priceless. And when your back is hurting, you just stuck. So anyway, I feel like we can go on and on, but yeah. So.
Yeah. There's certainly a lot to cover, and a lot of very different things we could go in depth here. I know, Ari, you have a question.
My dad got a surgery his eye, and Dad, we did this surgery, and I tell him what happened in your eye. So you have scar right here, and Dad, your eye bleeding, and Dad, I worried, and it's so expensive surgery, and have surgery.
Yeah, it's certainly can be expensive to get surgery, but I think it's always important, for your health. So that's great that we're working on that. As a last question, where can people find you on social media, or do you have websites? We'll go Jackie first and then Cantrell.
Yeah, so my website is lowrfat.com. I can type it in the chat. Low, and we have, lowrfat.com, we have locations in Bolingbrook, Chicago, Lansing, Matson, Oak Lawn, Oak Park, and South Holland. And we also have virtual. So, yeah, just pretty excited about, COVID was rough on our business. And obviously, people are going through a rough time financially right now. But a lot of people that are affiliated with our program, they continue to come. Like, I know budgets are tight, but they come, they have fun. And it's become a lot about the mental. Cantrell talks about this. A lot of people come and just get their burst of energy and love. And we hug each other and we laugh. And I mean, we work out too, but it becomes like a family. And I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, you can find us at lowrfat.com. And we have our next 20-pound challenge starting in January. So refer your friends to us and we can help them as well.
Thank you. And Cantrell.
Yes, so you can find me on Facebook as under Lotus Love Spirit Healing. And then on Instagram, my handle is Lotus Love Spirit. I do a lot of just talks and videos around all things wellness, detoxing, mind, body, spirit connection, breath work. Sometimes I'll go live about meditation. I also like to pick people's brain a little bit, kind of share the thoughts that people are having that they don't have the courage to speak about, because it's all about you being empowered and also knowing that you're not alone sometimes in the thoughts that you're having, and also give you a way to get better, give you a way to connect with yourself and let you know that, you have tools that you just maybe didn't know that you had, like my favorite tool to use is breath work. That's one of the tools that really breath is life. And so I talk a lot about those type of things. Sometimes you don't have all the money in the world to come and see me or get to, someone like Jackie, but there are things you can do to support yourself in the process. And in the meantime, till you can get to us. And I think that's pretty much it. You can always reach me by email. My email, let me put it in the chat. Let me see. I'll put it in the chat. It's canditrelflava at gmail.com. And I'm able to, let me do this. See, typing and speaking are two different languages. So I'm just not good at trying to do speak two languages at the same time. So I had to stop talking. But canditrelflava at gmail.com. That's where you can reach me. If you have any questions, if I'm not able to support you, I am connected to several communities of people that, can get you to some help. That's one of the things that I believe in, is having, as a practitioner, as a wellness practitioner, having a community. All of the things that I suggest for other people to do, I absolutely could pick up the phone right now and call someone and ask for some support for myself. So I believe in the work.
That's great. Well, thank you both for an amazing interview, and we're so excited to share this with our audience. If you have not already done so, please subscribe and follow to our YouTube channel. We are growing that. We also have a TikTok and Instagram account, as well as Facebook. So you can find us there, and we'll be sharing all of Jackie's and Cantrell's information on our YouTube page, as well as on our social media. We thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, thank